O-H-N-O. Oh no, it happened to the Buckeyes again.
How long ago was November 30th, 2019?
It was 1,831 days ago.
That's how long it's been since Ohio State has beaten Michigan in football.
Talk, 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 talk. We smash you again and again and again and again and again. You're never going to beat us.
This was supposed to be the year that Ohio State definitely beat Michigan. Michigan lost Jim Harbaugh. They lost Jesse Minter. They lost J.J. McCarthy. They lost Blake Corum. They lost their two best receivers. They lost most of the starters on their offensive line. They lost a lot of experienced players. And the Ohio State fan base kept making fun of Michigan last year. Oh yeah, you have all these super seniors. Everybody's 24 years old. Well, all those players are gone now. And you still lost.
What's that? We lead in the fourth quarter. What? What's that? We just won the game. What's that? Our guys are catching pepper spray in the face at midfield. Wow, maybe we do have their number. You do.
On top of everything Michigan lost in the offseason, they were without their best offensive player in Colston Loveland and arguably their best defensive player in Will Johnson.
My goodness, this one is very difficult to wrap your head around. And I think a lot of Ohio State fans are fair in saying that this is the worst loss of their lifetime.
Meanwhile, Ohio State returned a ton of experience. They brought in some key players from the transfer portal. They spent $20 million in NIL, and they still couldn't win at home.
You bring in Chip Kelly. He's your offensive coordinator. You spent $20 million on your roster, and that's what you have to show for it?
The only time that Michigan has won in Columbus since the year 2000 was the last time they played there. Well, surely that's not going to happen again, right? Surely Ohio State is going to beat this mediocre 6-5 Michigan team that has struggled in most games this season, right?
Not so fast!
In true College Game Day and Fox pregame fashion, Desmond Howard and Charles Woodson were the only two people to pick Michigan to win this game. Call them homers, call them whatever you want, but you also have to call them correct. Once again, the team that rushed for the most yards in this game won the game.
The history of the game is the team that wins the rushing battle usually wins the game. I'd say always wins the game. And also you got Quinshon Judkins and Trevion Henderson, two future high NFL draft picks. You better contain these guys. And that's what the Wolverines did.
This was not a pretty win for Michigan. Davis Warren threw for 62 yards. That wasn't a mistake on my part. He threw for 62 yards and 2 interceptions. One of those interceptions was to Caleb Downs, one of those big transfers that Ohio State got in the offseason. He threw that pick right after Michigan intercepted Will Howard, too. The other interception was a soul-crushing pick thrown in the end zone on a 1st and goal to Jack Sawyer, and Ohio State still couldn't win. They couldn't do anything with the ball. They could not capitalize on Davis Warren's mistakes.
The first time I ever saw my kid cry over a sports event was last year at the Ohio State-Michigan game.
When they beat them?
When Michigan beat Ohio State.
Michigan fans have not been overly enthusiastic or happy about Wink Martindale all season long. Wink was brought in as Michigan's defensive coordinator in the offseason. A lot of people were calling him Don Brown 2.0 or saying that he blitzed too much, but you got to give Wink credit. In the second half of the season, he really changed things up. And in this game, it was a masterpiece.
One job, Ryan. We had one damn job. It's just to beat this team, and you failed us again.
The Buckeyes scored 10 points. That's the fewest points that they've scored in a game since 2011.
I feel like Ryan Day and Chip Kelly wanted to protect from their offense, which they didn't feel like was in rhythm. They saw that their defense was playing really well, and so they allowed the game to get taken down into a phone booth in the second half with their offense. Now, in hindsight, would they like to change that? I'm sure. But that's the only reasons why I can possibly come up with why this happened. Why in the world, would some of those things happen?
There's been a lot of hype around Ohio State's freshman wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith, and he did have 1 touchdown in this game. You could argue that maybe he pushed off on it, but besides that, he was pretty quiet. Michigan's defense kept him in check. It really seemed like Ohio State stubbornly tried to run the ball when it just wasn't there. Were they trying to prove their toughness Was Jim Harbaugh still in Ryan Day's head?
Sometimes people that are standing on third base think they hit a triple, but they didn't.
Now, having said all that, Ohio State did finally bring the fight. Unfortunately for them, it was after the final whistle.
That's why the team's acting the way that they are. Ohio State, they know that they should have won that football game. And they know that they got punked.
First of all, it's AstroTurf. It's a metaphorical plant. You had 60 minutes to do this, and you couldn't get it done.
The fans, they're not even thinking about the championship right now. They're still thinking about Michigan, because that's what this was supposed to be. Bring these players in, like an all-world Caleb Downs, who was really a great player.
He's terrific.
Terrific player. Beat Michigan, and then go on, because all I've heard all season was that this is the most talented team. They're favored to win the championship. And so now, got to win the championship. You didn't get the Michigan game.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to win the championship. Or they're calling for him now, but if he don't make it, you know what I'm saying, to the championship game and win it, it could be lights out.
Ohio State player Jack Sawyer was doing a whole lot of chirping before the game.
3 hours later.
Harbaugh saying years ago, and Sharon Moore backing it up, that Ohio State's not tough enough. They're not tough enough. Ryan Day's not tough enough. They're not tough enough in the trenches. They're not tough enough in the run game. Just messed with their heads so much that they're like, we'll prove how tough we are. And then they run right into the teeth of exactly our strength.
Yeah, well, not only that, I think Lou Holtz said it as well.
Do you think that Ryan Day is going to survive this? I mean, he is 47-1 against Big Ten teams not named Michigan. He's 1-4 against the Wolverines. Personally, I think that he'll keep his job unless they go to the playoff and they get bounced in the first round. If they get routed in the first round of the playoff, he might be on the outs.
Ryan Day doesn't have a formula that works. He's 2-4 in bowls. He can't beat Michigan now 4 years in a row. When you start worrying about voices outside the building and narratives, and it starts changing your game plan. Their first half game plan was embarrassing. Like, what was it? He was trying to prove we can win tough. Just win the damn game.
Hey, that goddamn Michigan defense, though, man. Ohio State, there's no way in hell you only supposed to have 252 yards with an offense like that.
Sometimes you try to prove a point.
Mm-hmm.
You throw the ball.
Yeah.
You ain't got to prove it. Ocho, I ain't got to try to prove that I'm tough. We're more physical. We're going to show them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to win the game. I ain't got to show you nothing.
If there wasn't a 12-team playoff, Ryan Day would be what?
I think he would be fired. And quite frankly, it would be justified.
This was Ohio State's golden opportunity to beat Michigan. Michigan lost a lot of coaches, a lot of players, a lot of talent in the offseason. They didn't really have any good quarterback this year. They tried out a few. Nobody really worked out that well. Davis Warren has been playing a lot better lately, but he's still not the caliber of quarterback that you need to win in big-time college football.
Ryan Day? They didn't have a first down the last 20 minutes of the football game, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine how hard that is for that offense to do with all those options? I thought the longer I watched it, the stress of 100,000 people, the stress of their coach, the absolute angst of, oh God, if this goes wrong. And I felt like they played that way and their coach looked that way. When you live your life for one day, you give that one day permission to say that none of the other days matter.
Now, Michigan has the number 1 overall player in the 2025 class, quarterback Bryce Underwood, coming in, and he's probably going to start as a true freshman. And Michigan gets to play Ohio State in the Big House next year. Ohio State, you missed your chance to win this game. You had a golden opportunity, and you failed. Let's make it 5 in a row next year. Go Blue.